Hello everyone, Tactical H here. Today we have a battle replay yet again picked up from the Necro Clan Discord, this time sent in by Bojalicious, who also streamed a bit on Kick before on Warhammer content. For the army builds here, we have two factions that are relatively less updated in the recent patches, the Norscans and the Vampire Counts. For the Norscans, we have a front line of Marauder Spears, Bojalicious probably hoping to use their anti-large to stop the Vampire Count monster rush, and then further back, two relatively elite Norscan infantry, the Icehorn Marauders with perfect vigor and immune to psychology, right next to them the Brutes of the Hound, unbreakable berserkers. For the mobility, we have a ton of them today here, with a bunch of Marauder Horse Masters, relatively elite Marauder Horsemen Cavalry, and then the Throwing Axes Horsemen. And then we have a ton of hounds, actually, Beasts of Tashna, Norscan Warhounds, same goes for the other side, more Warhounds. And then they'll of course be led by Wolfric the Wanderer with his Hunter of Champions and his Sea Fang Bolt. He'll be supported by a single Shaman Sorcerer of Fire coming in with Burning Head and the Flaming Sword of Ruin. On the other side of the battlefield for the Vampire Counts, we have a front line mixed in with zombies and skeleton spears, and then further back we have some Stonesmen, the elite Grave Guards with their regeneration trait, and another unit of Grave Guard for some sturdier backbone. Actually, there's another Grave Guard on the other flank. They will be supported by some monsters, the Crypt Horrors, providing some armor piercing and monster mass for their front line. Then again, there's also the Corpse Cards with Unholy Lodestone to provide additional regeneration for surrounding Vampire Count units, and White King will be sustaining their leadership with that bit of Encourage aura. Leading the army would be Manfred von Karstein on his horse, coming in with Spear Leech and Fate of Buna. Spear Leech against Wolfric would be very effective because unlike Throg, he does not have any healing, and on the very far side we have a single die pack, and that's it for army builds. Now let's get the battle started. We'll be doing a bit of fast forward at the early stage of battle and skip the marching phase. Now, the Marauder Horse Masters have reached the front lines and now aiming down on the best target that they can go for, the Corpse Card. If they can take out this regenerating support piece of the undead army, then all these skeletons will be fighting much less cost efficiently. However, this time the Marauder Horse Masters are buffed up by a Flaming Sword of Ruin, adding those missile damage and more importantly imbuing fire damage as well. The Crypt Horrors with their regeneration trait are indeed weak to fire, combined with the Kindle Flame plus 20% of fire weakness. They just took a lot more damage from the Overwatch fire from all these Marauder Horse Masters. Now they're pushing up. This might be a big mistake as they're putting themselves right in front of all these non-armor piercing shots that can take out huge chunks of their health. The great thing about Marauder Horse Masters is that they do have additional missile damage compared to regular Marauder Horsemen. So the Crypt Horrors, before they even engage in the combat, are already down to half health, now being countercharged by the Skin Wolves, and then at the same time the Norscan Warhounds are rear charging, flanking around these Crypt Horrors. Yeah, this monstrous infantry unit is quickly wiped out. On the other side, though, the Norscans are actually backing up, trying to do a bit of kiting action here, retreating with the Norscan Warhounds, and the Marauder Spears are also pulling back. However, they might just be caught up by the advancing Crypt Horrors over here and will be forced into melee combat, but here comes a Burning Head. Gonna roast some of these skeleton infantry. Yep, this one whole skeleton spears are completely deleted, while the spears, Marauder Spears, are holding the line for now. Spears on the other side of the formation also decided to commit alongside the Icehorn Marauders. The Icehorn Marauders, being a regiment of renown, are fine fighting skeleton chaff, but against the more elite Grave Gods, this might be a bit more of a challenge to them. Some Marauder horses, the Throwing Axes one, moved back to the front line, now chugging their Throwing Axes at the Corpse Cart again. Manfred, though, a bit ahead of himself, getting out of his own unit support, allowing the Warhounds to catch up onto him. Hunter of Champions debuffing his speed and melee stats, while Wolfric pushing up, trying to hunt him down, though he is eating a Spirit Leech, and that might be a bit of a problem as he does not have any regeneration to mitigate those direct damage spells. The Brutes of the Hound are also pushing up to melee combat. They should be able to cleave through these skeleton spears just fine, while the Marauder Skirmish Cavalry are circling around, trying to get to Manfred von Karstein, who is now pinned down by the Norscan Warhounds. Skin Wolves are also moving up. White King is a bit lost as he cannot catch up to the faster Skin Wolves. At the back, some Marauder Cavalry are held in reserve, just shooting at whatever they can reach. but they have been activated as they have their eyes on the approaching Crypt Horrors, once again buffed up by the Flaming Sword of Ruin from the Shaman Sorcerer of Fire, doing some very cost-efficient damage to the Crypt Horrors. Now that they're overwhelmed, surrounded on all fronts, and shot by all these flaming missiles, their regeneration simply cannot catch up to the damage they're taking and will be promptly wrecked due to their low armor, unable to mitigate most of that incoming damage, especially with fire attacks cutting down their healing. On the far side, their dire pack has recharged into the pursuing armored skin wolves, the warhounds, and marauder horsemen might be caught by the anti-large dire wolves as well. Actually, no, not all of their units are stuck behind their own zombie units. Anyways, the zombies summon version plus these anti-large dire wolves are trying their hardest to bail Manfred out of this situation. Another zombie summon in the fray, trying to screen out these mobility of the Norskins. Manfred should be able to extract himself from this combat just fine, though Wolfric is still lurking nearby, should be able to come in and just start hunting him down again if the Hunter of Champions is off cooldown. The rest of the army, though, the Norskins are a bit stuck behind the undead infantry, since the Grave Gods do have that quality advantage over the Norscan Marauders, especially with their heavy armor helping them trading much more cost efficiently. Marauder spears are pretty decent in melee combat though, so they manage to beat down the regular zombie and skeleton chaff, just that the Grave Guard is a bit hard to tackle, so the flanks of the infantry line are pretty much secured. The middle section is crumbling though, and the Corpse Guard has been caught, while Manfred finally got out of the melee surround, putting another Spirit Leech onto Wolfric, draining his health even further, though the Dire Pack has been able to work down the Marauder Horsemen and some of these Norscan Warhounds. They'll be dropping that melee engagement, trying to go after the pursuing Beast of Tashna, who does have anti-large, so Manfred needs to be careful, and he, if anything, should be going back into the protection of the Stonesmen, using these elite infantry to screen away their pursuing units. And just like that, the Skinwolves and Beasts of Tashnar have been stuck on the Stonesmen. Wolfric dropped down his Sea Fang, though the messed up formation of the Stearnsman means that the wind ability does very little damage, while the anti-infantry bonus of the Stearnsmen are very effective against the Beasts of Tashnars, who are only small entities, not the large entities like their Ice Wolf brethrens. Now over here, Manfred is once again caught in melee combat. He needs to get out of there right now because there is nothing for the undead to secure their Leash Lord. You can see the undead support is running thin, especially some Grave Gods are all the way on the other side of the battlefield. The vampire count not bringing that many mobility units is also biting them in the back. There's simply no quick way for them to reinforce Manfred, and this undead lord is completely stuck in a horde of spears and warhounds. Wolfric is also constantly on the hunt, dropping down Hunter of Champions, making him much more vulnerable to all these melee attacks. He is dropping super low in terms of health. Invocation of Nahak is an attempt to keep himself alive in the fight. And on the far side there, a little bit of Burning Head roasting some of these undead infantry, but the Grave Gods, due to their heavy armor, doesn't really feel the pain from the spell. The problem is that there's just no units nearby to screen out any enemy units for Manfred, as he is now completely surrounded. Even the Marauder Horsemen are just throwing themselves into melee combat, making sure Manfred cannot get out of the fight, helping Wolfric to secure the kill. And indeed, the Norskins have succeeded in sniping out the Vampire Lord, and that puts the Norskins' balance of power in a noticeable advantage, as all that's left for the undead are some Grave Gods who are left super far away from the main fight. White King over here is slowly waddling back into the middle of the map, and some tattered undead infantry sitting around, but are very prone to rear charging from all kinds of Norscan mobility. Even the Marauder Horsemen, with their charge bonus, as long as the Grave Gods are not braced, they should be able to do some good work over time. Particularly with the Grave Gods crumbling in terms of leadership, they're taking more and more damage from themselves, from the crumbling self-damaging aspect, and the Brutes of the Hound are still fighting, of course, due to their unbreakable trait. Another Flaming Sword from the Shaman Sorcerer. The non-AP weapon strength boost would be very nice to the Berserkers, though the Stearnsmen are a bit far away to feel the pain from the flaming weapons. The White King here is going after something, perhaps trying to challenge Wolfric in a melee fight, but Wolfric is way out of reach for him. And then there are the Warhounds here to slow him down, while the Grave God infantry are kind of just left hanging dry, being recharged by the Marauder Horsemasters who have ran out of ammo. They do have better melee stats than regular Marauder Horsemen, so they're just fighting fine in front of all these fading away undead. We'll just go back into fast forward here. As the balance of power shift more and more in the favor of the Norskins, the Stearnsmen are still holding, but being surrounded on all fronts, constantly rear charge, and another flaming sword, boosting the damage of all the Norscan units. The Stearnsmen with their regeneration and fire weakness that comes with the self-heal. They're trading much less cost efficiently in this melee fight. The Brutes of the Hun, especially with their anti-infantry bonus, are just cleaving these Stearnsmen apart, while they themselves are fighting down to the very last couple men. 2 unit models still in the fight though, and that's gonna be game. GG to both Bujalicious and Butterlancer for the game. Wolfric, despite taking all the Spirit Leeches, he still managed to snipe out Manfred with the help of his mobility, the Warhounds, Skinwolves, and Beasts of Tashnar. The Skinwolves did some really good damage with their anti-large, getting back their value and then some more. And then, of course, the Brutes of the Hound, very cost efficient in clearing out the undead chaff, getting a ton of kills. Same goes for the Fire Shaman Sorcerer with all his burning hits. And of course, the Flaming Sword of Ruin boosting the damage of all these Marauder Cavalry, helping them to earn back quite a bit of value while they themselves taking relatively less damage in return. Then the mobility wise, we have the Beast of Tashnar and the Warhounds doing okay in combat. This one actually getting almost double its value. And then the regular Marauders, some of them did great with their anti-large attacks, especially into the unarmored crit horrors, but other than that, they didn't trade it that great into the Undead Grave Gods and the Chaff. For the Vampire Count, Manfred did some good damage with Spirit Leeches, but that's about it. Stearnsmen tried to hold in late game, but they are just overwhelmed by everything on all fronts, including the Flaming Sword of Ruin, giving the Norscan units the fire damage that the Stearnsmen are weak to. Other than that, the rest of the Undead didn't really do that much in battle. One of the Grave Gods did really well though, getting 1,300 gold worth of damage value, cutting through a ton of Marauder infantry I assume. But that's basically it for today's game. I hope you all enjoy this multiplayer action, and if you want to see more Total War Warhammer multiplayer content, be sure to subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Tactical Lich signing out.